AEW Dynamite, November the 1st, 2023. We're going to talk about the show, of course. But first, we got to discuss Tony Khan and his frustrating creative. Now, this probably should have been a video on its own. But we're going to talk about it right now. And then we'll talk about the show. So, here is the situation coming from Dave Meltzer. It says, if you follow AEW, you know that a lot of the stuff being decided at much later periods than previous. Guys are getting their information on what they're doing later, and decisions are being made later. There's times, the day of the show sometimes, you don't even know what the plans are. It's almost like when we used to talk about WWE, which is also very frustrating for talent. A lot of guys have a lot of input on what they're doing, but they don't really know long-term direction. So they're doing stuff and they're coming up with ideas, but when you don't really know exactly a long-term direction, you're kind of coming up with ideas week by week too. But you don't know where the ultimate thing is, and maybe the ultimate thing hasn't been decided. So that's one of the reasons that the shows are like the shows are. So he's trying to make excuses for why these Dynamites and Collisions and apparently also Rampage have been absolutely awful. He's saying, oh my God, Vince McMahon has invaded the body of Tony Khan. He has pulled a Doctor Strange where Vince McMahon has gone into some kind of meditative sleep and then went into the body of Tony Khan and decided that he's going to start booking the show last minute like Vince used to do. Crazy that Vince was in his 60s and started doing that. Tony Khan is like a little over 40. I think he might actually be like 40 on the nose. And he's already booking like a 66-year-old Vince McMahon. Very bizarre. But Jerry Lynn, he's got your back, boss. Jerry Lynn's going to make an excuse. He's going to talk about why things are the way they are. I'm going to go through this, but I want you to pay attention. I want you to see if he denies any of this, by the way. So Jerry Lynn goes on Twitter and says, because wrestlers and God knows who else have and continue to leak info to the sheets, podcasts, etc. So Tony tries to keep things confidential. You wouldn't want to know everything before you see a movie. Anyone who leaks info is doing damage to the product and the industry. Guess, imagine being an actor. You go on set, you get your script one page at a time. You're going to get your script one page at a time. We don't want you talking to the industry insiders, telling them what's on page 30. You get that script one page at a time. What are you talking about? AEW, they live and breathe by talking to the dirt sheets. Tony Khan talks to the dirt sheets. Tony Khan reads the dirt sheets. I mean, I get it. He don't want people spoiling stuff. That's why Vince used to do it from time to time. Before also he decided he was going to do weird things, like go off script sometimes, go off the board or change his mind or whatever. But it's all about trying to protect the integrity of the story. That would be the only reason you would keep from talent what the talent is doing. Either A, you don't know what they're doing, or you're trying to maintain the integrity of the story. Now, Jerry Lynn's going on that second piece, but there's no trust in the talent that the talent are not going to talk. But why would the talent talk? Why would the talent spoil what they're going to do? The only thing here that could possibly make sense is if Tony doesn't know what they're going to do. Sometimes guys know that. Now, I've heard that sometimes, even today, talent don't know what's going on until the very last minute. There was a story recently that Shotzi was told that she was going to be on Halloween Havoc and she was going to be the host like 3 p.m. the day before it was announced. So she didn't know when she came to Orlando that she was going to be the host of Halloween Havoc. She had no idea. Sometimes guys are not told they're going to win the title until like an hour before it happened. And all, of course, based on the the sketchy Lex Luger scandal where apparently he was told weeks in advance that he was going to be world champion and he went to a bar, got drunk, and started telling people. That story has not been corroborated by anybody, by the way. But it's one that we've all heard, I'm sure, by me saying it. You started thinking about it. But that story has not been corroborated. Lex Luger has said it's not true. I think even Bruce Pritchard has said it's not true. Nobody knows whether it's true or not. But then again, if you're Lex Luger and you screwed up a huge push, I mean, would you admit it? Like, yeah, I told some people and they went and told everybody else. But famously, Chris Jericho didn't know he was going to win the Undisputed title until, a couple of hours before it happened, because they were still debating it. They were still talking about it. So sometimes guys are told at the last minute for story integrity reasons. Jericho is a guy who talks to the dirt sheet, so I see not telling him. But AEW is a company that was built off the wrestlers talking to the dirt sheets. They should know that these guys can keep a secret. They don't need to talk. My thing is, I'm looking at how they book the shows. I don't see any long-term plan. I see an attempt at a story, but then I see weeks and weeks of no development. That Keith Lee and a Shane Taylor thing that's just going on for weeks, I don't think anybody knows what's going on there. All right, I don't think anybody understands what that story is. Why Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland just separated like oil and water, and they went their completely different directions. What's the long game there? Nobody knows. But some ideas are somewhat fully formed and are somewhat built on. But Tony Khan is one man trying to book 50, 60 wrestlers, and probably more than that. It's a little bit difficult. At least Vince had a staff. There's various people working with various talent. And there's, tons of agents and producers and all these people to help out. Tony Khan has agents and producers, but nobody listens to them. Nobody cares what these people think. These people have no effect on the product at all. They don't decide who gets pushed. They don't, have any influence over the product from what I can tell. Outside of maybe a handful of guys that Tony really, really likes, like Jericho and Moxley and Danielson and maybe the Elite, most other people don't have any effect on the product at all. So you got one guy essentially trying to book everybody, and therefore he just picks his favorites and lets them do some stuff. And then everybody else is out in the cold. This is not a situation where he's trying to keep them away from the dirt sheets. If he did, he would put a gag order on them, kind of like what WWE does, where if you get caught talking to the dirt sheets, it's probably going to be problematic for your career. Tony Khan don't care if these guys talk to the dirt sheets. They do interviews with the dirt sheets all the time. It don't matter to them. But it's an interesting piece of business to discuss, if we're being honest, because it's kind of silly. This is the excuse that Jerry Lynn decided to go with for AEW storytelling being so poor. It's bad. It's just bad storytelling. But it was very interesting, to say the least. Oh, Dynamite. What are we going to do with Dynamite, brother? Well, let's talk about something positive. They did a recap at the beginning of the show to catch everybody up. But I still had so many questions throughout the show. How did Willow Nightingale become number one contender? Who was that guy that was with Tony Storm? I had so many questions. Very few answers. But they also did another WWE staple. He did a running thread throughout the show. MJF starts the show with a list of the AEW rosters, hoping that he could find 3 of them who weren't a-holes, as his words, not mine. He then says he wants to call his good friend Adam Cole to confer with him about who he should pick. Adam Cole suggests, you should just go ahead and go with Samoa Joe and take him up on his offer. But MJF is like, I don't know. So he promises to defend the tag team championships that they won and that he will not lose them. And then all of a sudden, Adam! Roderick Strong appears, says that MJF leaving during the middle of their conversation was rude. He would never do that to Adam Cole. Then said that, isn't it obvious that MJF is the devil? And then this just left Adam Cole to hang up on him because he's annoying. Later in the show, MJF goes to visit Kenny Omega. He knocks on the door. Chris Jericho answers the door because Chris Jericho shares a locker room with Kenny Omega. Now they're the best good friends. Then he just slams the door in MJF's face. As MJF is walking to the next locker room. He gets hemmed up by Wardlow, who just grabs him by the throat and says that he took everything from him. Pronouns, pal. MJF took everything from Wardlow. And now Wardlow's going to take it all back when MJF least expects it. Then he let him go and disappeared into the mist. He went somewhere. He was gone. MJF got really upset. He was kind of spitting mad that Wardlow attacked him, but he didn't say anything because here comes the Acclaimed, who offer once again to be his partners, and MJF is like, nope, not interested. He leaves because he doesn't want to deal with the Acclaimed and all the gay shit they were on. Later on, he's approached by the Acclaimed again as he's sitting despondent on the floor. Anthony Bowen says nobody cares or nobody likes MJF except Max Caster. And so Max Caster approaches and says they will be their partners, but he only got to do two things. One, he's got to scissor them, and two, he's got to wear what's in this black bag. So then MJF peeks into the bag, says hell no, he refuses to wear it, and then he tells the Acclaimed to go shove it. He turns around and there is Jeff Jarrett and company. Like, come on, yeah, we're willing to help. And everybody looks at this and they're like, oh no, not Jarrett and company. So then the match time occurs and it's the Acclaimed. And the Acclaimed actually come out first. So they kind of threw away any and all pretense of drama. So you thought there was going to be some kind of dramatic element to this. No way. The Acclaimed actually come out first of their team, of course. The Bullet Club Code came out first on the other side. And MJF, all he had to wear was pink shorts or pink trunks and a Scissor Me shirt, and he had a pink Burberry scarf. So he basically just had to wear pink. And that was it. It wasn't like nothing embarrassing, like he didn't have to wear like a fake boobs or, he didn't have to dress like Timeless Tony Storm or nothing like that, which, the way he behaved, it sounded like that's what you had to do. And they just had a regular 8-man tag in which MJF got pinned by Switchblade Jay White. So this whole thing was for him to win back his championship, and MJF lost. Now, I get why you would pin MJF in this situation. You want to make Jay White look legitimate. But now you have said that, well, MJF had a chance to win his belt back, and he lost. Now he's just going to be walking around for the next, 3 weeks, 2 weeks with no belt. I guess he's already been walking around for 3 weeks without a belt. So it is what it is. After the match, Bullet Club Gold was going to hit MJF with the belt. Max Caster pushed him out of the way and took the belt shot on his behalf. Then Bullet Club Gold disappeared as they were chased off by the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. I just wrote Billy Gunn into the Acclaimed. So it's not no Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. He's a member of the group. He's been hanging around with them for like 2 years. In any event, Max Caster is laid out on the floor. He's bummed out and defeated. MJF checks on him because he actually does kind of care. He cares a little bit. Just a little. Then Max Caster puts his fingers up to scissor. MJF gets offended and is going to turn away. Then Billy Gunn gets in his face and says, how dare you? Don't you dare turn away from him after what he did for you. Don't you dare turn away from him. So then they all scissored unanimously. And that should have probably been the end of it. But no, it wasn't LGBTQ enough. They then had Max Caster get on his knees, hug MJF around the waist, and clutch his butt. Yes, sirree, he got in there. I've seen mothers clean their kids' ass and had less of a grip on that ass than Max Caster had on MJF. MJF then shoved him off and like, whoa, you're getting too close, pal. And I'm like, this is, if you've seen Big Pun's album cover where he's grabbing like the fake tits on the Statue of Liberty, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. The album came out in like 98. So it was pretty raunchy. That's how much clutch Max Caster had on MJF's booty. It was absolutely ridiculous. Why is MJF in this situation? Why is he involved in this storyline? I don't know. But the Acclaim got what they wanted. They still managed to lose. And it wasn't them that lost. It was MJF who lost. And we went through the entire night. And you know what? I'm not going to lie and say that it wasn't entertaining, because parts of it was entertaining. MJF looking for partners after he pretty much burned the entire locker room is fun. But this would have been an opportunity to teach MJF a lesson. If he would have, like, he pissed off Chris Jericho, so Jericho slamming the door in his face. That makes sense. If the next people he would have went to would have been FTR, and then they would have been like, oh yeah, remember when we was the Pinnacle? We were supposed to be all together, and then you screwed us then? That would have been a good thing to do. So it would have been like, he just fought Kenny Omega. They don't really want to be bothered with him. He pissed off Chris Jericho before because they used to be friends. Then he went to FTR. You know, that didn't work out either because of the Pinnacle. Then he gets accosted by Wardlow, who is pissed off about something completely different. And then you have other people, and the only people that he hasn't double-crossed and backstabbed is the Acclaimed. And that could have been you could have done the exact same thing, just that minor change of, instead of, you know, these are the only guys you got left, which is obvious. It could have been the only people you have not backstabbed are the people you've been honest with. And the people you've been honest with has been Max Caster, because you said from the beginning that you hated him and you didn't want anything to do with him. He's the only person you've ever been honest with. That could have been a great character moment for MJF, that he had to learn from all the people he backstabbed. And when he needed somebody, nobody had his back. But the people who he was honest with, even though he was honestly in disliking them, they were willing to put that aside and say, you can trust us. You have been upfront with us. We've been upfront with you. We don't really want to be partners, but it's the best option you got, you know? And I would have liked that idea. And would have been just a minimal change to how things were going. Roderick Strong, of course, he bitched to Adam Cole, about MJF not even asking him in the Kingdom to be his partners, which is interesting because I didn't really consider that until the moment he said it. Then Adam Cole told him to shut the hell up and hung up on him. So Adam Cole, who's growing a beard, by the way, I'm saying he looks like, and it's a gray beard at that. Like, it's really getting gray. How old is Adam Cole? He's like younger than me. I'm pretty sure. I'm 39. How old is this guy? He's got to be like 32, 33. How he got more gray in his beard than I got in mine? What's up with that? I guess it must be all these injuries and not eating quality foods. I guess a gluten-free lifestyle ain't working out for him, and that and them shattered ankles. Anyway, the MJF story was fine. The punchline was what it was. I mean, you knew it was going to be the Acclaimed. I mean, what else did you think it was going to be? All right, the first match on the show, International Championship, Orange Cassidy versus Claudio Castagnoli. Orange Cassidy wins the match with a Hurricanrana, dropping the dime like pin. And, of course, I shook my head, but I wasn't surprised. Orange Cassidy, they did the fake kicks early, but Claudio didn't sell them. Also, Claudio half sold pretty much all of the attacks Orange Cassidy did. At one point, Wheeler Yuta and Hook both came ringside, and they got ejected because they weren't supposed to be out there. This was a match, it's one-on-one, so he ejected them. And I said, I cannot believe AEW finally got it right. AEW did it right. Wheeler Yuta shouldn't be out there. Hook shouldn't be out there. So they threw the kids out. Get out of here. And I liked it. Great. No distractions. Let it go ahead and finish. Orange Cassidy usually does some kind of tumbling lucha libre DDT. He went for that, and it got countered into the giant swing. I thought that was a great spot. And I was floored that Claudio lost, but I wasn't surprised that Claudio lost for the way. Moxley then stormed ringside as Claudio stood there, completely perplexed at how he could possibly lose to this string bean of a human being. He gets in the ring, and then Orange Cassidy charges the ring, runs right past Claudio, gets into a fight with Moxley, and then immediately starts getting stuffed into the mat. I mean, Moxley is just beating him from pillar to post with his bare hands, just killing him. Claudio turns around slowly and just watches Moxley beat up Orange Cassidy. Just beat him. Just beat the shit out of him, really. Various officials and referees and such come out there. Claudio's moving people aside before he finally pulls Moxley off of Orange Cassidy. And Moxley storms off again. And Claudio doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything, just kind of lets it happen. Oh, brother. Later, Moxley cuts a promo saying that this was his match and that he got injured, but he's going to finish the job at Full Gear. Said he respected Orange Cassidy when he didn't have to. He let Orange Cassidy live and he didn't have to. And he says that Orange Cassidy wrote him off the same as everybody else did. But he said he's planning to beat Orange Cassidy within an inch of his life at Full Gear. And then he said it might not even be Orange Cassidy. It might be the injury he's dealing with. It might be some other stuff. But he's really fired up right now. And I was okay with this promo, but I wasn't thrilled with it. I mean, Moxley just looks so much like Bruce Willis. Not modern day dementia Bruce Willis, which is very, very sad, I must say. I love me some Bruce Willis, man. I hate to see what's going on with him right now. I saw a picture of Bruce Willis recently, like how he looks recently, and it's frightening. I never need to see that again. Considering I'm a big fan of Die Hard, I was always a big fan of the Bruce Willis blue collar action star movies. It was very sad to see Bruce Willis look that way. But Moxley reminds me of Bruce Willis from like 1992. It's just for some, the balding, not quite bald, but bald enough to know that he's balding. White t-shirts all the time, white beaters all the time, not cut to shreds, but also not super tiny either. I know Bruce Willis eventually got shredded, but during the days of some of his movies, he wasn't like super buff. But Moxley has just kind of gone in the I drink beer for most of my days direction. Smoke cigarettes most of my days. Oh, I'm sorry, he doesn't drink beers anymore. Not anymore. So he drinks that piss water that is alcoholic-free beer, which sounds so stupid. I want a beer, but it's got to be alcohol-free. Then what the fuck is the point? That's like having sex with no penetration. It's stupid. All right, Orange Cassidy was said to be the best champion in wrestling. We could all just laugh that off and move along, right? I mean, we don't need to get into the muck and mire of how stupid that shit sounds. All right, second match on the show, the Elite, or the Hung Bucks. Hangman Page and the Young Bucks battle the Mogul affiliates, which is Toa Leona, Khan, and Brian Cage, for the Ring of Honor Trios Championships. As per the usual, the Young Bucks are the Road Warriors. And they're Demolition. They're the Skyscrapers. They're the Powers of Pain. They're the Wild Samoans. They just can't be stopped. And the big guys are doing all the bumps. So then we get a distraction because Swerve comes out mocking Hangman Page, saying whose house? Swerve's house, of course. Then says that last week he was in Page's house. Page, his temperature rose and he chased Swerve off the screen. And then the Hung Bucks lose because one of the Jacksons got beat by Toa Leona. So the only way he can lose is if they outnumbered, which is stupid. Backstage, Hangman Page and Swerve are fighting. They're throwing stuff. They get into a mini brawl. They had to be separated by officials and referees. Hangman Page is yelling that Swerve is a dead man. And while that's all happening, Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks starts throwing a fit. He starts having a tantrum. He starts smashing a chair against the ring post. Like Chris Jericho did back in the days when this kind of stuff wasn't accurate. He starts throwing headsets and pushing stuff over, getting in people's faces. Now all of a sudden he's got an attitude. He's got a real problem. He's got a big, big problem. And then he decides that he's going to go pick a fight with Kenny Omega, which is just like a woman. You know, you ain't even do nothing wrong, and she went and came and found something to be mad about. So the Young Bucks go over to Kenny Omega while he's buddy-buddy with Chris Jericho and says that, hey, I thought the point of the Elite getting back together is that we will watch each other's backs. Kenny Omega was like, and then he's like, oh, no problem there. No heat there, but I got this one issue. How are you now best friends with Chris Jericho? Don't you remember that thing he did to our dad? And Kenny Omega was like, it's more of a enemy of my enemy kind of thing. And then the Young Bucks said that Chris Jericho is cut from the same cloth as Don Callis, and he wants Jericho to clean the locker room when he's done using it because they're leaving. And then they took off. So now the Young Bucks are about to turn heel again. It's not going to save you. It's not. You're boring. You suck. It's not going to save you. You're not going to turn good all of a sudden. It's not like, oh, what we're missing is the Young Bucks when they were heels. That's when they had so much charisma. No. Nope. They suck. Edge, he came out next saying that him and Sting do go way back. They got a lot in common. They used to be sounding boards off each other. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Oh, yeah, we go way back. We had the same broken necks. What? What? Anyway, he says that Darby is the future before he's interrupted by Christian. Christian said he's going to retire Sting. He gave Darby a gimp arm, and he's going to suggest that Edge back down with his neck injury, or he's going to snap his neck, and his kids are going to be wiping the drool from his mouth. Then, because Edge wasn't listening, he sicked Nick Wayne and Botchasaurus on him. Edge fight both of them off, by the way. And then Luchasaurus attacked Edge from behind. Next year, because they had the upper hand, a concerto was coming. This was set up by Nick Wayne. Before Sting and Darby made the save. While Christian beat the shit out of Darby, Edge was on the other side of the ring preparing to spear him. I mean, he just let Darby get stomped. And I know that this is probably Darby's kink, but I don't know if you're friends with somebody, you might not just want to watch him get stomped. Anyway, Sting spears Christian, calls him a dumb son of a bitch, say he's going to beat his ass, accepts Sting and Darby as his partners, and they're going to be a 6-man at Full Gear. They didn't do a good job here. Look, I like Edge, big fan of Edge. Not as much of a fan as everybody else in this situation. I'm a fan of Christian too, but this Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne thing, not really. That's not working for me. You know, that's not working for me. I don't see them as a threat. Nick Wayne's taking the pin in this, right? We think we all agree with that, right? And then I thought it was going to take a little bit more to get Edge to fight Christian. Like it was going to be like one of those things where I've had all I can stand. I can't stand no more. But it seemed like it didn't take long at all, actually. And this me and Sting go way back. No, you don't. I haven't seen. How far back do you go, really? So that was that. And that was very disappointing. And speaking of disappointing, in the middle of the day, we get Tony Khan has a big announcement for Dynamite. Everyone's jumping off the roof. What is it going to be? They got the new TV deal. It's going to be HBO Max. It's going to be a new pay-per-view. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. Everybody's just chattering as this is going to be the next big thing. So I'm sitting there, and they put it at the top of the hour too, so you know it's important. It's popped on at 9 o'clock, so you know it's important. They go backstage to Tony Khan, who's standing there with Nigel McGuinness, looking very small and frail. And he's talking about All In. And he's talking about Christmas. And he's talking about his parents' house who had a Christmas tree up since July. I thought they were Muslims, but I don't know. I was told they were Muslims, but I wasn't sure about that. Not that Muslims don't celebrate Christmas. It's just that, you know, because Christmas has become more of a, much to the chagrin of Christians. Christmas has become mostly a secular holiday. So maybe you don't have to be a Christian to celebrate Christmas in the United States and maybe the western part of the world. So I was like, what's the point of this? Where are we going with this? Then he starts talking about all-in ticket sales will begin in December. I'm like, so what? And then he started saying that the pre-sale is going to start November 27th. I'm like, is that Black Friday? That's what it sounds like, right? So what? And then that was it. That was the big announcement. The big announcement is the week of Black Friday, you're going to be able to go buy your all-in tickets 8 months before the show. Whoop-de-doo. Where's the pyro and the streamers? Like, it's like 4th of July out here now all of a sudden. You can buy tickets to your show that's in August, in December. Well, I'm sorry, November, with a special pre-sale code. Man, that's a tweet. All right. That's not something you announce on TV. All right. This is Tony Khan absolutely taking advantage of his fan base. Getting your hopes up, and then dashing them. Oh, it's just pre-sale ticket. And he's not going to apologize for this, by the way. You know, it's being a wrestling promoter. You know, he gets you excited about something, and then he jerks you on it. Whatever it takes to get attention. This kind of boy who cried wolf kind of booking is going to turn around and bite him in the ass eventually, of course. But not today. Because he got a lot of people today. A lot of people thought that something special was going on. Especially when he started saying that there was going to be a special announcement. And then at the same time, that girl that they claim is coming from Stardom started promoting something on her social media account. Then you had the video that was Doja Cat and the women of AEW. And it all came across like it was going to be some kind of big deal. People was like, oh, he's going to announce Mariah May signing, or Doja Cat's going to be on AEW because of that video package, which I knew that wasn't going to be happening. Because if that was going to happen, he'd have promoted it. It wouldn't have been a huge announcement or a surprise or anything like that. I can tell you that much. He would have. I mean, not that I'm a big fan of Doja Cat, but there's enough people who are fans of hers and know who she is that if she was going to be on this show, they would have just announced it. They wouldn't have done, it's going to be a special announcement. So for the record, you don't just have like surprise celebrities. Like you tell people celebrities are going to be there. So you had all of this stuff that people was thinking in their minds. And what ends up happening is a whole bowl of nothing. Just a whole big bowl of nothing. Of guano. Of dung. Of poop. Nothing. Do you feel better now? Are you excited about the next All In? That won't happen for 9 damn months. You can get a chick pregnant right now, and the baby will probably be born 2 weeks before All In. Or maybe 2 weeks after. But you got a lot of time in between now and then. It's a stocking stuffer. Get you some tickets that you're going to forget about, or that you may never even live to use. Who the hell buys tickets 8 months in advance? Who does that? Like, I know, like, people, like, I've seen people buy, like, WrestleMania tickets a year in advance. I know. But it's ridiculous. I would not buy tickets 8 months in advance. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. I'm a different kind of cat. I would not pay for anything that far in advance. I love big events and concerts and stuff as much as everybody else, but maybe a month or two out. I'm not about to buy a ticket 8 months out. Too much can change in 8 months. I got a life. Shit happens. I'm not going to be like, I got to absolutely positively make sure I don't have to work or have a heart attack or cancer or anything like that between now and then. Get the fuck out of here with that. Next, Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange are defeated by Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. What a joke this was. Afterwards, Don Callis says that he wanted to have a street fight between his family, Chris Jericho, and Kenny Omega. And then I noticed that skinny kid from Aussie Open was there, and I'm like, what is he doing there? And he's back there wearing a suit. He looks like, John Travolta in Get Shorty or something like that. He's trying his best to look like a gangster, a mob boss or something. And just like, I thought Don Callis completely ruined this kid, told him to quit the business. Why is he back? What is he doing here? What's going on? Why is he here? Somebody explain to me what that kid, I don't remember what his name is. What is he doing here? Why is he present? And then they started saying, well, we're just going to cut through the mess. Kenny Omega says they're bringing Kota Ibushi, because Kota Ibushi only shows up once to do 8-man tags or whatever. And after that, Don Callis says, you're 1 man short. And I was like, what the hell? There's only 3 of them. And I forgot about Sammy Guevara. My brother, again, autism. Reminded me about Sammy Guevara, because it's out of sight, out of mind with that bum, right? So I'm like, okay, they're about to announce Big Show. Sure, if shit ain't sugar, Chris Jericho announces Big Show as a guy who's bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs, to which Don Callis says, nobody's bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs. And I'm like, I've seen 4 people on this show bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs already. One of them is that mutant Brian Cage, who's bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs. That big giant Indian guy, he's bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs. That's half the guys I've seen bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs right now. I love Hobbs, but come on, let's be real about this. So Paul White, the Big Show, he stands on the stage, and just look at the state of him. All right? Look at the absolute state of this man. The luggage underneath the eyes. The way that one leg ain't quite legging right. It's got 2 knee braces on it. That joint is somehow got him pigeon-toed. And I'm just looking like, this guy is not only not ready for a fight, I don't think he can move. So then, of course, the dork kid from Aussie Open walks up to the Big Show and gets punched in the face. And he sells it like he's been in some kind of big box office boxing fight and falls all over the place. And Big Show's like, come on, bring it. I'm like, who helped him get out here? Clearly he used a walker, or he used Vince McMahon's cane to get out there. And now he's just out there and he's stuck. I promise you, this guy's not going to be able to do anything. It's going to be like a Raven situation. I don't know if you guys watched Raven and CM Punk, that cage match they had, where essentially Raven stood still and made Punk do all the work. He had to take all the bumps. That's what's going to happen here. Big Show's just going to stand in the ring and everybody's going to run towards him and he's going to knock him down. It's going to be embarrassing. This is going to be a mess. Why on God's green earth would you bring back the Big Show? This guy is it's like timber. He's leaning like a tree after you done cut a chunk out of it. I mean, my goodness. He's like a human avalanche. He's about to fall over. What on earth is going on, my guy? Oh, this is terrible. This is awful. Speaking of awful, Hikaru Shida versus Willow Nightingale. Willow's got charisma. She's peppy and pretty and all this kind of stuff. But what the hell is she doing as a top contender for this title? Where did this come from? I don't know. Don't care. Shida won the match with her running knee strike. They're just fattening Shida up. They give people a bunch of title wins in a short amount of time when they're about to lose the belt. So then Toni Storm comes out and she's got some guy with her. And he's got a pillow with her shoes on it. He's got a pillow with her shoes on. What is going on? So then she comes out and she's laying all over the ramp. She had tangerines in her booty hole last time, and that was very entertaining. I think that was Collision. When she came out, she was pulling tangerines out of her butt. That ruled. But now she didn't have tangerines in her butt. She just came out. And apparently Hikaru Shida is very, very tired of Toni Storm taking up all the spotlight. So she ran down there to beat her up. And they seemed like they was going to show color. But since Toni Storm cannot be shown in color, they didn't. And they just watched her get beat up in black and white. And the guy she was with didn't help at all. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? And what purpose does he serve? He's just like, I don't know. I'm confused. So then I'm doubly confused because now the lights go out so Tony can leave without being seen in color. And Julia Hart appears behind Willow Nightingale. She reaches out her hand to maybe try to get Willow Nightingale to join her. Willow Nightingale just kind of looks at this, and then Sky Blue runs down to the ring and gets in Julia Hart's face. And I'm like, okay. So then they decide that Sky Blue was going to turn on Willow Nightingale. So she turns around and gets in Willow's face. And then she snaps to the side and spits blue mist into Julia Hart's face. Julia Hart does not take a bump. She just kind of, and that was it. So Sky Blue is immune to the poison mist of Julia Hart. What's going on, brother? They were trying to subvert expectations. So, and everybody's expectations were that Sky Blue is going to turn heel, join Julia Hart. Instead, we're just going to have Sky Blue spit blue mist in Julia Hart's face, which does what for her character development? Which does what for her relationship with Willow Nightingale, because she didn't come like save Willow or anything. Is Willow going to turn heel? Like, what's happening here? I don't know. But here's the funny thing. As terrible as all of this was, Toni Storm continues to be very good. I'm not a big fan of her silent movies, but everything else about the character has been very, very fun. But when you got Chris Statlander coming out here saying that the women need more time, oh, brother, what did she say? Let's go through what she said before I end this show. Chris Statlander says, I do wish we could get more time, because if we do, I feel if we're given time with the right people, we're going to put on a show that no one's ever going to forget. That's just life, though. We're just always going to keep fighting an uphill battle no matter what we do. Not just in wrestling, but in all of life. Because that's just what happens when you're a woman sometimes. When you're a woman sometimes, you just have to fight uphill battles. Oh my goodness. Poor you. Poor Chris Statlander. You don't get enough TV time. But look at what happens when you get TV time. Poor acting. This is the best you got right here. Toni Storm is the best you got. Look what they did with her. Look what they've been doing with her. All right? She's been doing movies that have been hidden by commercials, for Christ's sake. What more do you want? Every women's match feels like it goes on forever. Especially in AEW. For Christ's sake, these matches feel like they just go on and on and on and on with no foreseeable end, and then they just end. And that's just it. Maybe you say Shida is not the right person. Okay, fine. Willow Nightingale clearly is liked by the audience. How is she not the right person? Maybe she's a good babyface, but who's a solid, really good heel? Nobody. Right? There's no top heels. Is Toni Storm a babyface or a heel, for Christ's sake? She's been interrupting Hikaru Shida, who's a babyface. But Toni Storm's been getting great reactions and has been acting like a babyface. So I don't understand what's going on anymore. There's what happened to Paige. Where did she go? What happened to Britt Baker? Where did she go? Like, that's the only thing that Chris Statlander's got a point is like, sometimes these women disappear. You know, and look, it's not always a bad thing. What Paige was doing was terrible. What she was involved with was awful. So giving people more time to be awful is not smart. Male or female. She feels like, oh, poor us. Poor uterus commission. We getting mistreated out here. It's like, look what you're doing. Look at the last two women's segments in AEW. Abaddon dressed like Spawn in a Halloween street fight that nobody cares about in the middle of Collision, in which she swung a bone and busted up some construction paper. Nobody gave a damn about that. And now poor Sheeta has to not only spend time trying to get people to care about this Willow Nightingale thing where the match has no heat, no story. Nobody can explain why Willow Nightingale is even getting a title match. None of this can be possibly explained. And then afterwards, it's young girls with no personalities spitting in each other's faces. To what end, by the way? To what end? I think you got all the time you need, sweetheart. I think you got all the time. You probably got too much time as it is. You need to maximize your minutes, by the way. That's an old school JR wrestling term. If it's 2 minutes, make it the best 2 minutes it can be. If you got 10, you need to make it the best 10 it can be. The idea that you're just going to politic for more time, especially when the ratings are what they are for AEW, probably not a smart time to do that. And then I don't think you're politically attached enough to make certain demands. But I gotta say, this episode of Dynamite, at least it had two things that shows me that they're learning something. They had a thread throughout the show, which is probably going to be the only time they have this, by the way. And they had a recap at the beginning to let certain people know what the main stories of the show are. Now, everything else, they're surprised Kota Ibushi. Kota Ibushi is washed. I like Kota Ibushi as much as everybody else. I have not been impressed by his AEW runs. He's washed. Big Show. Oh my God. Big Show comes out and he's looking like the St. Eyes logo. He's just crooked. Just a crooked eye out there. What a disaster that is. By the way. What an epic disaster Big Show is. And Meltzer, he got me looking at it. He got me looking at it. There's a lot of old guys on this show. He made me look at it. But I'm not tripping because at least Billy Gunn is adding value. Jericho is adding value. Edge and Christian are doing some of the best stuff they've done in a long time, especially Christian. Sting is on his way out anyway, so he's adding value. No Ric Flair this week. They said Ric Flair was going to ride with Sting until the wheels fell off, but the wheels fell off before he got to Kentucky. The wheels fell off early, huh? Poor Flair. He tried to get himself booked the entire time, but it didn't work out. Tony Khan, Indian giver, gave Sting Ric Flair as a gift and then took it back. How much of a mistake was that? Oh my God, that's awful. Gotta tell you, bro, this episode of Dynamite was not good. It's very not good, especially the matches. The matches was nothing to write home about. The promo segments weren't very good. Just nothing was good. It just feels like there's a lot missing on this show. They're missing stars. They're missing excitement. There's nothing really exciting about this show either. It's very dry. It's like I hate bagels. I'm one of the few people on earth that hate bagels. I really do. Like, bagels are not good on their own. You have to add shit to bagels, right? That's kind of like the same thing with like broccoli or Brussels sprouts or something like that. Like, the shit is pretty bad on its own. Like, you just eat some Brussels sprouts, like, you're a special kind of super individual if you can just like eat Brussels sprouts. Like, you don't got to put like butter on them or salt or pepper or anything like that. You gotta season this show. This show is a mess. All right, better writing can't even help it at this point. The crowds are just so sparse, and they care so very little about what's going on. And the only thing that they react to are the older guys. Is the Edge? Is the the daddy ass with the Acclaimed? That's the stuff that gets people up. Sting. The average everyday guy don't get the pop he used to. Even guys like Moxley, They don't move people like they used to. They got to fix that. You got to find some way to get people back into the show. And I don't know how you do it, if we're being honest. I just don't know what you can do. But you got to figure it out. Because if the best announcement you got is that you're going to have another All-In in August next year, that's very embarrassing. You need some more good news, okay? You need to go and bone up on some good news. Go dig up some good news and then come back with a better announcement. You know? I've seen all of these stories where they're talking about, oh, what was this? Fightful claims that Warner Brothers is very happy with AEW due to by the sources they asked. Oh, yes, their sources. I'm sure they have all the best sources, the most penetrating and honest sources. Well, tell me this. If they've got sources, then these sources are so true, then why in the hell hasn't AEW announced a new TV deal yet? Or maybe they already have a new TV deal and it ain't worth talking about. We don't know. But don't tell me that Warner Bros. Discovery is happy or, well, they're just trying to wait and see what happens with the NBA first. It's like, you could have locked down AEW before you even negotiated with the NBA. This deal could have been, if you're happy with them, they produce content 52 weeks a year across 2 of your networks. And they have to wait to see what's going to happen with the NBA first? Wow! The NBA, look, I know the NBA is, look, live sports is huge. I'm not going to diminish AEW by saying, that's a slap in the face. No, it's just the facts of the matter. It's economics. If they need to spend more on the NBA than they want to, that may affect how much they can spend on AEW. That's basic economics. At the same time, though, stop feeding me this shit about how excited Warner Bros. Discovery is to have Dynamite, how much they love it, yada, 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 because it's just like you tell a girl, you like her so much, put a ring on it. If they haven't done that yet, don't tell me about how fucking happy they are. Don't tell me about their happiness until I see the new contract. Show me how happy you really are. Because I'm looking at Dynamite and I ain't happy. There's a lot of people watching this show ain't happy. This show came across like one of those mid-90s WWF shows, and half the crew is in like Spain or something like that. Like this definitely felt like half the crew was missing. Like they didn't bring everybody to Kentucky. There was like 4 matches on this show. 5 maybe. Which I know is very disappointing to the average AEW fan when they're used to like 6 matches a show. Each one of them being 20 minutes apiece. That they didn't do that here. This felt like one of those light episodes of Raw or SmackDown where half the crew's in Saudi Arabia. That's what it felt like. And since we know they don't run house shows, and since we know half the crew ain't in Saudi Arabia or in Europe, where the hell was everybody at? Why didn't you have anybody exciting or interesting on this fucking show? Enough complaining. Talk to you guys later. If you got this far, hit the like button. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys later.